Printmaking all began with woodblock printing sometime in the 13th century. This was a very tedious process, as printers had to hand carve each block with a singular letter or symbol, which was both expensive and time-consuming. There are many types of printmaking, including relief, dry point engraving, etching, lithography, serigraphy, and monotype, to name a few. The movable type was first created by Bai Sheng in the Song dynasty, who used baked clay, which was very fragile. The movable type uses letters that are individually carved to compose sentences. In 1377, a man from Korea named Jikji was the first to use the movable metal type. Of course, we can't forget about Johannes Gutenberg's printing press in 1440. He's known for the Gutenberg Bible in 1454. It's also known as the 42-line Bible. However, the first print of the Bible was 40 lines, but he found out he was able to save money with 42 lines. Also, Rachel and I got a special opportunity to get a presentation from Professor Kevin Grace in the archives of the University of Cincinnati. Here are some neat clips from our visit relating to printing.
This is printed, and then, of course, where you see colors like this, it's hand-colored because they would go in with watercolor and do that. So that's not colored ink, that's actually watercolor, but everything else is printed because they're still trying to make books look like illuminated manuscripts, and that's how we do books today. So when you look at your e-reader, your Kindle or whatever, they're trying to replicate the look of the physical book as well. The interesting thing about this, though, is you see all those holes? You know what those are?
Not bullet holes.
No. Bookworms.
What?
And they look perfectly round, but if you look at them under a microscope, they actually have jagged edges. And of course, this is from 1493, and it's essentially a history of the world. And printed, and then woodcuts in there as well. And what is covered in here are the histories of different cities, as well as the history of mankind. Rome. And this was printed in Nuremberg, Germany, and hence the Nuremberg Chronicle. And you notice how white the pages are. It's because the paper at that time was made of 100% rag. You didn't really start getting wood pulp paper until the mid-1800s, and that's the paper that has a high sulfuric acid content and begins to deteriorate as soon as it's made. This is the time we get to the mid-1800s, we see a huge increase in literacy, particularly in the Western world, but that means they had to produce more and more books, cheaper and cheaper, and that's when we start getting wood pulp paper so that they can do all this cheaper. But one of the biggest marketers, successful marketers of his books, was Charles Dickens, and he would publish his books in chapters or in parts. Got line tooling and then gilt decoration, and then you can see it's carried on the inside of the binding, and then you see the pages that are gilded. You go like this.
Oh my goodness.
You get what we call a four-edge painting. It's a hidden picture.
Crazy.
This is a little bit harder to do, but it's Virgin and Christ Child.
The Madonna?
Yep.
Wow. That is...
Then you fold it like that, and you're essentially getting a train.
That's just awesome.
So those are called
cool.
four-edge paintings.
That's really...
And there you just got a crash course in 2,000 years of book history.
That is awesome. Thank you very,
so
very
much.
much.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
That's just epic.